it's very useful to analyze what, for example, different gaming and non-gaming campaigns do in marketing, or what e-commerce companies do in terms of their online activity and digital marketing. Because very often some winning strategies are coming from the people with a fresh view on this situation.
Welcome to Mobile Growth and Pancakes, a podcast by Stormmove. We break down how and why mobile apps grow. In each episode, we invite a mobile growth expert onto the show to break down a specific mobile growth strategy, how it worked, why it worked, and what they would do differently. I'm your host, Esther Shatz.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Mobile Growth and Pancakes. I'm Jonathan Fishman, VP Marketing at Stormmove, and today I'm really excited to be here with Alex from Nekki. He's the CMO of Nekki, a game developer. Alex, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Thanks for inviting me to your podcast, Jonathan, first of all. So I'm Alex. I'm 5 years already in the mobile digital marketing. And for the last 3 years, I'm managing all the marketing things in Nekki. This is not just the user acquisition, but also the ASO and monetization side, and some other live ops and community management things as well. So we are mostly popular with our fighting game series named Shadow Fight. This is one of the most downloadable mobile games in the world, which is counting more than 500 million downloads worldwide as for now. And I think we have a lot of things to share with your audience, which can be reasonable and useful.
Awesome. And how you got into mobile marketing? Like, what was your path before you became a CMO? I think that's an inspiration for a lot of people.
Yeah, cool question. Basically, I managed the logistics in a pretty huge corporation. I was the logistics director, and my latest field was the digitalization and optimization of the logistics product processes in the manufacture, delivery, and planning. Mm-hmm. So it was incredible. It was an incredible switch from the real side business to the online. But as I have an education in terms of marketing, the marketing field, the higher education, and I had a diploma with the marketing. It was like back to my roots.
Awesome, cool. So I want to talk today a bit about user acquisition. It's a topic that everybody's speaking on these days because of the shift towards privacy first advertisement and Apple enforcing everything that they enforced with the deprecation of the IDFA. Google is not going exactly after Apple and following them in that path. They have a different way of introducing privacy first features. But so far, it's been out since June of 2021. How's it been like for you guys? Do you think have been broken? Are things going well?
Of course, we are not an exclusion in the market. We struggling a lot with the iOS changes, but I can't say that it's somehow ruined our activity or marketing activity. First of all, that we are lucky guys, and in general, we were always focused mainly on Android. In terms of the user acquisition, first of all, because Android for our title was much more scalable than the iOS.
Why was that? What was behind that decision?
As far as we see, we found a lot of action lovers on Android, first of all, and a big share of our audience coming from the third-party countries, where it's not where the people are, let's say, not so rich like in tier 1, where there are a lot of Apple holders and iPhone holders. So in that case, we saw a great volume of organic traffic from these countries, and we tried to support them and tried to support this volume of organic with a paid user acquisition. And usually people are very surprised when I'm talking that, for example, one of the most profitable in terms of ROI countries for our user acquisition activity is India.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a really growing market for mobile. That's for sure.
Yeah, and it's big, it's scalable, it's cheap. So it's bringing us a really good ROI. When at the same time we are seeing, let's say, more or less stable, but much lower numbers with the United States in terms of profit. I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So when we are scaling our user acquisition, we are always trying to find a balance because, as I mentioned, we are receiving a huge number of organic traffic, and it's normal for the fighting games in general. And in terms of that, we are not so interested in bringing just the installs for our games because they are coming organically. The brand and the franchise is very strong in the market now. But we are focused on generating some extra profits. So when we're making any decisions in terms of our marketing activity, they are mostly focused on the extra profit generation.
Cool. It's there's a lot to unpack here. First of all, I think it's a really unique type of perspective to focus on, like countries where they're more Android focused and they're less susceptible to the changes in terms of privacy because it's mostly Apple driven, and the impact of what Apple have been doing and been rolling out is not distributed evenly around the world. There are places where it's you can still operate the same as you were. So you were lucky to have that type of I would say marketing mix before, but after that happened, you completely ditched UA on iOS and completely focused your budgets on Android, or are you still trying to navigate these waters?
We are still trying, of course, and as more time is passing after these changes, the more and more we see how we can manage it on a scalable model. But at the same time, I can say that anyway, we lost more when we received this limitation with the Chinese market on iOS, because in terms of the fighting game, in terms of the action game, the China market was one of the primary markets for us, the same as the United States. And when we were limited with this market, because we don't have an ISBN for now, we saw, let's say, much more significant impact on our revenue flow than we had now with the iOS updates. But as for now, for iOS, we are still trying to manage it. And of course, the structure of the channels changed significantly.
How did it change for you guys?
Yeah, so of course, as for many others, Facebook was our primary channel for a long time. Mm-hmm. And for now, we decreased this channel, and now it's just even not on top 3 for us in general, for Android and for iOS as well. And because you know that after the iOS changes, Facebook also rolled out their own privacy changes, which also bring a lot of problems for the attribution, especially for the optimization quality. And as we expected, as many others, we expected some decrease of the costs for the customer acquisition, but we didn't meet them in time. So we saw just the decrease of the performance on this channel and the stable cost per acquisition. So of course, after that signals, we decided to to keep only stable campaigns, and sometimes we are still trying to do some things, but it's comparing to the previous periods, it's in a very low level now. As for now, we see very impressive results with TikTok on iOS. I mean,
oh, nice.
Yeah. We were aware that they were prepared for all these changes in terms of scam and all the privacy changes and attribution problems. As far as we see, they are really growing, increasing the quality of the optimization inside their algorithms. And of course, it works very well for our games as well, because most of our gamers are young audience. The audience is very young, and of course, they are most of them are the TikTok users, and this is a very suitable channel for our titles. And the Google Ads, I think that they succeed a lot from all these changes, because on both iOS and Android platforms, more and more companies I see, they are transferring their budgets to the second one of the strongest channels for the user acquisition, and their algorithms performing better and better day to day, especially on Android. And we see how the stability of the optimization and the performance, it's really growing, and now this is pretty impressive. And at the same time, when the marketers are limited in some kind of tools to tweak the campaigns or to tweak their activity, of course, all of us are trying to find some ways how to hack the system with some, I don't know, there are different approaches, but I mean, first of all, with the smart data feeding of the user acquisition channels. And what we are seeing and meeting more and more often in the industry, that more and more companies are trying to make the smart feeding of the algorithms, I mean the Google or the ad networks, by selecting the specific events from the specific maybe ad sources inside the channels which they would love to perform and to perform towards them. So yeah, to be honest, this is pretty interesting time, because I think all of us relaxed for some time because everything became pretty easy, to be honest.
It was almost unfair, I think. It was just working based on user level data, and everybody got used to it, and it just worked. You didn't need to do a lot.
Yeah. And at some moment, maybe some of us, maybe some even in our company, we stopped finding some smart solutions and smart decisions. And all these changes are pushing us to keep smart and to find the new approaches on this very competitive market.
Yeah, I think you touched also a few other really interesting points there. First of all, what you said about TikTok and making smart decisions, it connects to another trend that I'm hearing a lot of people talk about, which is contextual marketing and contextual advertising. So basically, you lost the ability. Facebook became a source that stopped bringing you high quality users because they stopped being able to access user level data, and they just don't know what people are doing on all of the apps in the world. Most of them, those that didn't opt in. And by analyzing your audience and recognizing that a lot of your audience or your high quality audience is very young people, you just thought very creatively and said, where can I find them? TikTok, for sure. Everybody there has TikTok. They're all on TikTok. So so instead of relying on Facebook to find these users wherever they are on the Facebook portfolio of apps and Instagram and everything. You just can basically think creatively of where these people are and find them there. And for you guys, the answer was TikTok. And I think that's a part of why it worked really well. Taking it one step further, I know that you're also leading your ASO efforts. How do you view ASO's role in the success of UA? I mean, if it's this young TikTok audience, would they need to see different messaging and creatives on the product page once they see it when they tap on the ad? Are you doing some thinking in these areas?
In terms of the product page on the stores, we really don't see any significant difference between audience reaction from other channels, to be honest. I think the reason number one is that we almost never tried to use the misleading ads. This was our position, first of all. And when we just had some kind of idea about that, and we tested just a few examples of the slightly misleading ads, we didn't find any performance or better performing benchmarks which we met before.
You're talking about these type of ads that show gameplay that doesn't exist, like mini games that don't exist.
Yeah,
a lot of people are still doing this, by the way. That's my Facebook feed is full with these ads, and you didn't see good performance of that.
We didn't see a really impressive numbers for that. Yeah, and at the same time, we felt not really good inside the company in general because. First of all, we are always trying to keep the user experience on a high level. You can see the level of our games, and as for us, they are not created for some kind of misleads. Let's say. And in terms of the quality of the games we do. It's really sensible to use the real gameplay because sometimes the real gameplay looks like a misleading ad for many other games in the store.
Yeah.
Because it's like almost like a movie or like a console game level, especially with our latest title, Shadow Fighter Arena. So in that case, this was just not reasonable. This, by the way, coming back to the UA, this is one of the points of the struggling points for us to use the playable ads, because the limitation and the requirements for the playable ads, the requirements of the playable ads are so limited in terms of size and quality that with our graphics we are not able to produce good quality playables. And from our view, we can't use the ads which looks worse than the game itself. Yeah. So it doesn't work for us as well in general. So we have some interactive end cards, but the playable ads, like a big interactive item, no. And returning back to the ASO, so we see that when you have honest and good quality produced user flow from the ad directly to the store and after to the game, and it bringing the common sense and the general idea very clearly to the user. We don't see any changes and at the same time reasons to change something for any specific type of the audience in the ASO. Because when we are checking our benchmarks, because on Google Play, for example, it's available to check the benchmarks comparing to your category competitors, we see that for all our games, the conversion rates are always higher than the average, and in most of the cases, even than 75% of the market. So, and we are not doing something, I don't know, something unrealistic. we are just showing the game as is, and I think we're just trying to easily explain what is inside, and that's it. And it works.
Yeah, and you said that before that you get a lot of organic traffic and a lot of organic growth.
Yeah.
So let's unpack that a bit. What is driving that? Because we all know that organics don't fall from the sky. If somebody now, I don't know, develops a new fighting game, they won't just get organic traffic just because. What kind of activities are driving that brand? Why do you think? Because that, by the way, can also play into the fact that you have really high conversion rates because people recognize the brand, they saw it somewhere, they have some affinity to it, and thus the conversion rates are higher as opposed to a game that they never heard about or a brand they never heard about. So what are you doing, or what did you did in the previous years to build that brand?
So in our case, it's a little bit not a common case because we are managing the series of the game of the same with the same title, let's say, and we realized the difference of the ASO with the game from the same portfolio with the same naming only when we released the Shadow Fight Arena. Because when we published it, we met such issues which most of the game developers never met, such as how to manage the positions in the store between your own games.
Yeah.
How to exclude the cannibalization, because for example in our category of fighting games, RPG games, usually we are, for the most, let's say for many keywords, searching keywords, we are close the same to each other and close to top 10. And in that case, we were struggling how to manage the ranking of each title in this group.
Really interesting.
And it was a very uncommon question, because when we were trying to find any ASO specialists and consultants who can help us, we found out that it's just the problem, of the Marvel maybe.
Yeah.
And maybe FIFA.
It's the known portfolio problem. It's a good problem to have. Only companies that have a big portfolio of games around the same IP or the same concept has, but it's but I agree, it's not that common. But it's really interesting. So what did you do at the end?
And in that case, we were trying to bring the, let's say, the best understanding of what is inside just from the preview of the page. I mean, if we are talking about the Apple Store or even the Google Store, when you are searching some games on the store, sometimes you have the preview, sometimes not. It depends on some settings of the store. But we were thinking about how to manage this, even without the paid ads in the store, let's say, how to manage it to explain for the user what's the difference between Shadow Fight 2, Shadow Fight 3, and Shadow Fight Arena. Because, for example, of course, you can easily find the difference between Shadow Fight 2 and 3 in the naming, in the 2D and 3D graphics. It's easily to understand. You just choose what you like more. But how to explain the difference between Shadow Fight Arena and 3, which from the first view, when we just released them, the pages was looking so similar. So that we realized that it can be really a tricky choice for the user, for the potential user. And when we were, and then we decided that we have to explain to the user from the first 1-2 screenshots what's the difference, and the naming as well. So this is some kind of the branding marketing in terms of ASO, and the ways what should be the position of this title for the user, and what is the core value of this or that game inside the portfolio. So everything you should show in the first screenshot and the naming of the game, because if the user will not find this difference from the 1 or 2 first words in the list, they will just scroll it down because it's too tricky. So the positioning of the brand, of the titles inside the brand, it's very important in that case. And the most impactful changes which we made in terms of the organic growth was just working with the conversions. Because for the store conversions, good conversion is the best signal that the user experience is good. And the retain of the user is the second good signal for the store, that conversion is really good. So it's proven. Yep. So when we were making the A/B testing and other changes on the store, we were just looking on the conversions only, because when you are increasing your conversions above the median numbers or even higher, you will definitely see the increase of the organic traffic.
The search traffic.
First of all, the Explore. The Explore traffic is
talking about the Play Store, yeah?
Yeah, but this is the same on the, not the same.
Yeah, Apple is more curated, like the...
Yeah, it's much, it's a bit more accurate, but yeah, if we're talking now about the Explore, yeah, I'm in the Google Play. Mm-hmm. You will see the significant increase of this traffic after the increase of the conversions. And the search traffic, it grows with the time, as far as we see, because stores, first of all, the work with ranking with the keywords, play with all these plays with the keywords, they always need a lot of time for changes, and all your competitors are and country, inside the store. But anyway, as far as we see in our category, 80% of the search traffic is the brand traffic.
Amazing.
And
like just branded search, just people search for Shadow Fight, and very wisely they find your portfolio of apps because all of them rank for your brand name. Amazing.
I mean that in any way, as long as you are promoting with the paid ads your game, your brand becoming stronger and stronger day to day. And definitely, if you do even a small piece of branding in your ad creatives, you should see from month to month the increase of the search branded traffic in your stores. Anyway, and as far as we see with all our titles, the longer time goes with the title, I mean, how old is it? Never mind. But in general, the good scenario when the Explore traffic decreasing with some time, and the search traffic should increase at the same time. That helps in general keep you the stable level of the organic traffic in general. So that's what marketers should pay attention to towards their organic traffic, depending on the moment of the life cycle of the game itself. Because if this is the many years ago published game, of course you should focus how to increase your search traffic, how to use the strength of your brand, which should be after several years in the store. And at the same time, not to push a lot the Explore traffic, because anyway, the store preferred to give more traffic, more Explore traffic to the new titles, and to help them to get up in these charts. And in terms of Apple Store ASO, of course, it's much more dependent on the paid traffic than the Google's. And it's at the same time, it's a bit more easier to understand how to push it in terms of search, because you can always use the search ads and find what is performing, because Of course, for App Store, the conversion is also very important. And you can analyze the conversion of your keywords, which are performing well, and to explain through the keywords and what is the audience and what the audience expecting to see on your page, and just to prepare your product page for these expectations.
Amazing insight. Yeah.
So but anyway, the stronger the paid user acquisition you have on iOS, the stronger ASO, or let's say organic traffic you will see there.
Yeah, I think that in the App Store, because it's it's a system where the on the browse side, I mean, their version of Explore, it's more driven by curation. There's the Today tab, and even the games and even the apps tab they're just curated lists. It's not an algorithm to choose which apps appear there, like on the Explore tab on the Google Play one. And we did a lot of studies on that, and we found that the most important metric for Apple is first-time installs, first-time downloads.
Yeah.
They just change it. So the conversion rate for first-time installs, that's what tells Apple that this app is popular and something's happening with this app, and it's growing and growing. And they calculate the first-time download velocity, like how fast is it growing. And then you get like a really unfair share of search rankings. Like you start going up on search rankings, and of course on the top charts, and your organic install growth just goes up really, really significantly, really fast. And of course you can control that with paid UA. I mean, the more paid UA you run, the more, at least if you're targeting it for first-time downloads and not retargeting or targeting lapsed users, you can increase that metric and increase your performance on the organic side in the App Store. But I think what you mentioned as well is, and not a lot of people are thinking about it this way, is that paid UA, even with the slightest of branding, and again, we ran a lot of studies on it, really drives a lot of branded search. Like you can also influence the volume of branded search with paid UA. And some channels are better for that than others. For example, YouTube is a channel that, if you compare the performance of it from a direct response perspective, it's people usually don't respond directly to an ad on YouTube. What they do is they go and search for the thing they saw afterwards, if they saw the ad enough times. And I think TikTok is also similar in that regard. And it really drives that branded awareness. And then again, more brand awareness, higher conversion rates. The conversion rates, we talked about it, they influence your search visibility and your search traffic, and even the Explore traffic on Google Play. So it's like a loop that feeds in itself. So
yeah,
the connection between UA and organic here is still very, very strong. And I think, by the way, something interesting that you said, that a lot of people stopped spending on iOS, like companies that aren't like you, that they're very much focused on the US, let's say even US focused in iOS. They cut spend and they discounted the cost of doing that because they really hurt their branded search traffic. Like what created that branded search traffic. Then when they stopped running these ads because Facebook or other networks are less good in getting to these high quality users, they missed out on that, which is, you can still achieve that by running a very broad campaign and increasing that branded search volume. So it's really cool to think about it as a loop, and it's cool that you look at it, and I'm confident that it's part of why you got to so impressive user-based numbers.
I just want to add one small point that anyway, the user acquisition and the paid user acquisition and the ASO, you can't split them and to put them separately. Anyway, they should be very closely connected to each other, because even when you are doing the search ads, you should not consider only the tracked volumes of the installs which coming from the MMP platform, but at the same time, you are increasing the conversion the conversion of your branded search traffic. Because when, for example, somebody is searching for the shadow fight again, and we are launching the search ads campaigns for the same branded keywords, for sure. You never know for which of these two positions, which we will receive in their listing, they will tap to. But it doesn't matter. For example, the main point is not to see on the first screen the competitors. Because, for example, even with our very strong positions, when we have, of course, the number one position for our branded keywords, if we are not doing some kind of paid search ads, we can see someone above the branded free but branded position of our shadow fight game. And this is very important to keep the conversions with help of these instruments, with these tools. Because first of all, you are just taking the first place, it's okay. But at the same time, which is much more impactful in my view, that you are taking almost all full screen for your app. Because anyway, one of these previews, or sometimes even both, will come with the app preview. So with the full screenshot and video preview details of the meta from your page, product page. And the same situation with the Google Ads when you are doing Google Ads for Android is completely the same. And even the Google Play Analytics, which is showing the traffic, the search traffic in the store, it's counting the Google Ads from the search like the store search traffic, not the referral traffic.
Yeah, it's the same one on App Store Connect. You see one search metric. It's not breaking down. You have to go to ASA and then subtract those numbers. So yeah, I agree. I really.
It's again about the conversions. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the conversions after about the traffic volume. So as you mentioned very correctly, this is the loop, but the conversion first.
Yeah, amazing. I think Nekki is very lucky to have you as CMO, because in a lot of companies I speak with, this is so separated. Like, it's not even separated just UA, like paid user acquisition and organic user acquisition, which where the ASO team sits. The search ad team is even broken down even further, just like the UA team, those that do UA on networks, those that do UA on like the self-attributing networks, Facebook, Snapchat, all of those. And there's the search ads team. And unless there's somebody, preferably in leadership, that have like a high level view and basically say like, let's stop for a second. Let's look at all of this holistically. We're all about growth. Let's get that growth together. It doesn't matter if it comes from the search ad or the organic listing. For these companies, which are usually like very large corporations, they have all of this politics, and like the search ads team want to get attribution for that install. The person doing ASO wants that to be counted as an organic search install, and then it becomes like an attribution battle, like between all of them. So I think you have a pretty significant advantage in the fact that you're looking at it in a unified way, and you just say it doesn't matter. An install is an install, and $1 is $1. So amazing insights.
Yeah, it's always about the motivation for the teams. Of course, that's why they have such problems inside sometimes, because it's really tricky, especially nowadays, for the analytics team to spread it and to
attribute,
split the results between the teams. But anyway, it's not always important to separate and conquer. Sometimes you should join and conquer.
For sure, and we very much for that. We here at Stormmove, we have we believe in an approach that takes all the relevant data into one place and analyze the impact of everything you do holistically on paid and organic. And some call it media mix modeling, some call it aggregated analysis, but basically bringing all of the data into one system of record one source of truth, where you can analyze the impact of all the changes and everything that you do on top level KPIs, instead of going the other route, which is kind of becoming impossible, which is like direct, like deterministic attribution, which is still possible by certain parties because fingerprinting is not yet enforced to the fullest, but it's not supposed to be a viable option. But I don't believe that deterministic attribution would be possible if you fast forward like a year from now, a year and a half from now. Basically, when Apple starts giving some, like punishing some developers that they identify they're doing that. So anyway, people would have to analyze things in a holistic way, and it's going to be less about that type of attribution and more about like the funnel, as you talked about, like the search funnel. Really cool. We're about to run out of time, so I just want to ask you a few questions we ask all guests. If you could give just one tip to somebody getting into mobile marketing today, after all this craziness with Apple and privacy and everything that's happening, what would it be? What's like that one tip?
I think that try to find experience from different marketing areas, marketing fields. I mean, it's very useful to analyze what, for example, different gaming and non-gaming campaigns do in marketing, or what e-commerce companies do in terms of their online activity and digital marketing. Because very often some winning strategies are coming from the people with a fresh view on this situation. When somebody is just working for 5 years just with the games, of course he is very aware about every approach in this field, but he can find some extra value or some multiplying combination if he will use some tips or tools from the non-gaming category, for example. Because, for example, subscription model requires an absolutely different approach in terms of analytics, predictions, even the creatives, of course, and some other things. E-commerce, they are perfect in terms of bringing back the customers or just reaching them out in different ways with the emailing, push notifications, and many other things outside the mobile application, I mean, and a mobile ecosystem. And all these kind of things can give you the multiplying effect to the standard marketing activity which everyone do. So if you would love to, I don't know, to blow in the market as a newbie, but at the same time as a sometimes even better than the experienced one in these marketing fields. I think the wider experience can help, because anyway, for the deep experience, you will need time and a lot of fails. But for the wider view, you can just search the information and learn from the others without your own experience.
Amazing insight. Really, really deep. And almost last question is, what's your favorite flavor of pancake? You're here on Mobile Growth and Pancakes. I'm sure there's a favorite one.
Yeah, the apple pie. Apple pancake.
Apple pancake. That's good.
Yeah.
And lastly, if people want to reach out to you and ask you anything about anything we talked about, where can they find you?
Anywhere. I'm always on Facebook. I'm always on LinkedIn. So any convenient messenger is always open for everyone.
Awesome.
I would love to contact anyone.
Cool. Awesome. So thank you very much. Thank you for doing this. It's been a pleasure. I think it was really insightful, and it's refreshing to see somebody that leads marketing from a leadership perspective looking at things so holistically. And I'm sure it's you guys are gonna be very successful in 2022.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
And that was Mobile Growth and Pancakes. To find out more about Stormaven and how we can improve App Store performance, visit stormaven.com. And then make sure to search for Mobile Growth and Pancakes in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found, and click subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. On behalf of the team here at Stormaven, thanks for listening.